If over 100K people showed up to the Area 51 raid, with a legitimate goal of breaching the defenses, what do you think would happen? The US government will test out its new non-lethal weaponry. Edit. In response to their replies saying that they'll use lethal weaponry, they will likely use a combination of the two categories. However, I don't believe the government wants to go Tiananmen Square on us yet and massacre everyone in a crowd at such a high-profile raid. It would look terrible, and it would almost definitely spark something. I also just want to point out one more thing, there's likely nothing of extreme importance at Area 51. The government would be dumb to keep its secrets where everyone in the country believes its secrets are. Gold. Well, with the main gate being 15 miles from the actual base, I picture well over 3/4s giving up in the first mile. The rest will fall along the way. No one will come even close to seeing anything classified. This is all without security intervention BTW. They'll sit and laugh watching the whole thing unfold via CCTV cameras. Then they will drive out and escort the survivors out into awaiting sheriff's vans to be charged on federal trespass charges. It's a bunch of people in the hot, dry desert, with less logistical support than the fire festival, trying to Naruto run across tens of miles. Emergency search and rescue services would spend the first couple days retrieving people in varying degrees of heat exhaustion, dehydration, and extreme sunburn. They would spend the next couple of months retrieving the rest of the corpses. Hospitals would be full all over the state. The survivors would mostly end up arrested, save possibly for those who didn't even make it to the sign. Base security would get a nice workout, though. Military member here. They're going to have the local police and sheriffs there, as well as their own defenses, basically piling up around any and all entries, using less than lethal devices, and ready to use lethal. If this goes down, it's not going to be pretty. They're not just going to let you walk on by. Best case is a large gathering happens in front of the base where they get a bunch of publicity and illuminate some information withheld from the general populace. Everything remains peaceful and nobody gets hurt. Well, it'd be a lot like the fire debacle. A shit ton of people would show up, completely unprepared, thinking it was some kind of catered festival. Instead, they're going to wind up having to trek across that goddamn desert. The drive off of the highway to the first gate is hella long, and it's gonna be hot and gross. By the time they even get to the first gate, people are going to be dropping out. At the gate, assuming that it's a complete and total surprise, it won't be, that thousands of people show up, the guards sound the alarm. 5 to 6 Humvees with security folks get dispatched to the crowds and try to send them back the way they came, with varying success. Some turn and run, others press ahead. Past the initial security layer is where the fun comes in. All the secondary defenses are going to kick in, which will be the riot control devices, tear gas distribution, either by land or by air, and my personal favorite, the active denial systems. This is fun, because people are going to scream about how they are using alien laser beams. Pro tip, had these since Afghanistan. They make you feel like your skin is on fire, the closer and longer you stay in the field. Think of them like reverse microwave ovens, and think of yourself as that cheese-filled Totino. In addition to setting your nerves on fire, they have audio denial systems, called Medusa and LORAD. These are so cool. LORAD is basically directional audio that is crazy loud, it's death metal turned up to 11. They blast it at you till you leave. Medusa is the most likely candidate to be called alien tech. It's sound energy that's silent. It uses microwave sound that pulses from the transmitter. It uses your skull as the speaker. So if you had your cell phone out, recording people, it'd be totally silent as everyone clutched their head in crazy pain. It'd be like a fucked up reversed Bird Box Netflix film. First thing, anything truly sensitive is locked up in a highly secure bunker. You ain't getting in without heavy equipment and explosives. Even if you can somehow overwhelm the base personnel. Anything else will probably be airlifted to an undisclosed location until the silence is done. Second, LLE is going to set up checkpoints far away from the base, preventing and dispersing any mass gathering. Third, if the roadblocks, the military has plenty of technology designed to disperse large crowds. Tear gas, rubber bullets, microwave pain rays, and other things. Lethal might happen if someone brings a gun, but I doubt that will happen. What will probably happen is every military base will enter lockdown if it isn't already, and all they did is fuck up some poor serviceman's weekend. I'm curious if they prosecute the person who started this meme. It is basically inciting a riot. Light 'em up. But jokes aside, every country in the world would have a spy mixed in that 100k. A breach is not an option. I'm sure they have some pretty hefty doors on that base. I'd say they'd just close them. Also barricade the perimeter and use anti-riot equipment and crowd control techniques. If even 10,000 people show up, the authorities will close the roads leading to Nellis AFB/Area 51 way out in the desert. For every person who is absolutely willing to jump a fence on the assumption that airmen will not shoot down a crowd, there are hundreds of people who are going to take one look at a dozen state troopers manning a roadblock more than a day's walk through the desert of where they want to be, who will not give law enforcement a reason to arrest them. However big this thing might be, if 100 people actually make it inside the perimeter before they're arrested, I'd be surprised. If I was the base commander, I'd put up a few big tents in front of the entry, stock them up with food, drinks, resting places, and make it a big happening. Have a few of the tents with info about the military, scientific discoveries with devices that were tested there, just in general some cool stuff, presentations, maybe roll out some of the old declassified spy planes. Basically an Area 51 con. Everyone who went out there could come back with a cool story and wouldn't really need to do stupid stuff. We've had similar incidents in the past, so we can be fairly sure of the response. The most recent one I'm aware of involved some sovereign citizens claiming they were independent of U.S. laws and marched onto a Marine base. They were captured and arrested. I'm not aware of any specific defenses at Area 51, so this is a general process based on the above incident from the stories of one of the Marines involved in their capture. Surely the military is monitoring social media, and likely texts, emails, as it is for national security, to gauge the actual size of the invading force. Troops will be brought in if needed to shore up defenses should it get to that point. The military will be prepared for a fully armed and well-prepared attack, because the consequences of being taken by surprise would be worldwide embarrassment. Troops will be loaded out with full combat kit including live ammo and placed around the base strategically to hurt any trespassers into waiting, armed, arms. Since less lethal force has advanced greatly since my friend was in the Marines, sound emitters, tear gas, bright lights, rubber bullets, and other means would likely be deployed first before encountering any live soldiers. Any injury to the invaders, though well-deserved, would be a PR nightmare. Lastly, let's not forget Area 51 was strategically placed to be in the middle of the desert and has significant passive defenses. Fences, razor wire, and sheer distance will deter all but the most determined invaders. The average internet conspiracy crusader is also not a seasoned outdoorsman, so anything beyond driving to the gate and asking nicely is probably beyond their scope. In the end, it will cost taxpayers millions of dollars to move troops and equipment around, and the soldiers will be very bored and sweaty out in the desert for a few days. Honestly, it's probably a good exercise for everyone involved, though I really wish we'd focus our combined efforts elsewhere. Scenario 1. Thousands of idiots who didn't bring water are eliminated before they even get close, because Area 51 is surrounded by a shit ton of desert and they didn't prepare properly. The few thousand that do get close are incapacitated with non-lethal sonic weaponry, tear gas, etc. If, by some miracle, a handful of idiots actually get close to the fence, a soldier manning a 50 calories will fire off a few warning shots, and that will probably scatter the rest of them. Anyone who actually tries to pull out wire cutters or climb over into the base will be summarily cut in half by the aforementioned .50 California. Scenario 2. The beginning stages are very similar to Scenario 1, but once they start to get close, some jackass in the crowd pulls out a gun and fires at the guards. Over the next few seconds, thousands of idiots are turned into casualties by multiple 50-calories gunners unloading into the crowd at once. Following this, there is extreme and violent outrage from the public and on social media, almost certainly riots, and possibly even further attempted attacks on military institutions. This entire ordeal turns the whole country upside down, all caused by a lone super retard who opened fire on military personnel at Area 51.